All right, let's jump right in. Today we are tackling a word that is, well, probably the single most important and yet most confusing word we use, love. We throw it around constantly, but what do we actually mean when we say it?
Think about it for a second. In the span of a minute, you could say, I love this coffee, I love my family, and maybe even talk about a deep spiritual love for God. It's the same 4 letters doing all that heavy lifting. And honestly, it can leave the word feeling a little stretched, a little thin, you know?
So to try and get our arms around this massive idea, we're going to look at it through a really specific, really powerful lens. These 2 sentences. They're often called the 2 Great Commandments, and they're arguably one of the most influential definitions of love in history. So they're the perfect place for us to start digging.
Now, these aren't just any old sentences. In their original context, the claim is that the entire moral and spiritual framework hangs on them. So if we misunderstand the word love right here, well, we're going to misunderstand the whole thing. It's absolutely critical we get this right.
Okay, so here's our goal for this explainer. We're going to put that ultimate command, and especially that word love, right under the microscope. We're going to break it down piece by piece to see if we can build it back up into something stronger, something more coherent. And the first step is to zoom in on the word itself.
So let's do it. Let's put this word on the examination table, because what you find when you look closely is that love isn't just one thing. Nope, it's a whole spectrum of meaning packed into those 4 little letters.
See, at its core, especially in this context, love is so much more than just a warm, fuzzy feeling. Look at these other words: commitment, loyalty, and this one's key, a volitional will to good. That means love is a choice. It's an action. It's a decision you make to seek the good of another person. It has real substance.
And what's so wild is how this one word operates in totally different arenas all at the same time. Biblically, it's about loyal action. Psychologically, we can literally see it in our brains, in our attachment systems and reward circuits. And then socially, love can actually mean civic justice, the active structural care for our communities. It's working on all these levels.
But this is where we run into a huge problem in our modern world. We have this tendency to take this beautiful, unified concept and just shatter it into competing pieces.
Yeah, why is that so hard for us? We see all these different layers, the biological, the emotional, the ethical, and our first instinct is to treat them like they're rivals in a competition. We feel like we have to pick one to decide which one is the real definition of love, and that leads us right into a really nasty mental trap.
And this trap usually shows up in one of 2 ways. On one side, you've got the reductionist view that says, oh, love is just chemicals and hormones. It boils everything down to biology. Then, on the other side, you have this defensive view which says, no, love isn't chemicals at all. It's something higher, something separate. But you see the problem? Both sides are forcing a false choice. And the end result of this either-or thinking is that it just rips our reality in 2. It creates this totally unnecessary war between science and spirit, between our bodies and our souls, leaving us with a fragmented, broken, and frankly, a much weaker vision of what love can be. But what if that entire choice is a false one? What if we don't have to choose it all? There's a much better way, a simple shift in how we think that can put everything back together again.
The way out of the trap is to embrace a both-and way of thinking. It's so simple but so powerful. Is love chemicals and hormones firing in our brains? Yes. And is it a deep emotional bond? Yes. And is it a conscious, ethical choice? Absolutely. And is it a profound spiritual mystery? You bet. They aren't rivals. They are all true at the same time. You know, a great way to think about it is like a piece of music. The biology, the neurons and hormones, that's the physical sound waves, the music being played. The psychology is the beautiful melody we feel and experience. The ethics, that's the written score, the structure we choose to follow. And the spiritual dimension, well, that's the composer behind the whole masterpiece. It's all part of one single composition. When you really get this, it is such a profound shift that you could honestly call it a linguistic rebirth. It's about retraining your brain to stop seeing the world as a collection of competing fragments and start seeing it as it is, an integrated reality with many beautiful layers. Okay, so that all sounds pretty good in theory, right? But let's get practical. Why does this actually matter? What does adopting this integrated view of love really change for you and me in our day-to-day lives?
Honestly, it changes pretty much everything. First, it's a positive vision. Nothing gets thrown out, every layer is included.
It fully embraces our bodies as good and legitimate carriers of love. It allows our emotions, our intellect, and our spirit to finally work together instead of fighting each other. And maybe the biggest thing? It dissolves that false competition between loving God and loving your family, for example. It allows your whole, undivided self to show up to the act of loving.
Let's see how this works. Here's that second great commandment, but reframed with this new integrated vision. Notice how it calls on every single part of you. The warmth of your emotions, the clarity of your mind, the commitment of your will, and the follow-through of your actions. It's not just about feeling a certain way or doing the right thing. It's about your whole being working in harmony.
And that brings us to the bottom line. When we see love as this one integrated reality, that old conflict just melts away. Loving God with everything you are no longer competes with loving your neighbor as yourself. In fact, they start to become the same thing. Each one deepens and enriches the other because you realize they're all flowing from the exact same source.
So I'll leave you with this to think about. What would change for you, right now, if you started to see every expression of love in your life? For your friends, your family, for humanity, for the divine, not as separate accounts you have to balance, but as different streams in a single, powerful river. What might that unlock for you?